How we doing, everybody? Today, I want to chat about Vault Glass 2.0, the changes that it went through, and my thoughts on the raid and the contest, challenge modes as a whole, all that kind of stuff. Not really going to be talking about loot or anything like that, mainly just the encounters and the raid as a whole. To start out, I just want to say that I think Bungie did a very good job refining Vault of Glass for Destiny 2. Very, very well done. I thought the original race was going to take like 2 to 3 hours at the most. Not just the contest clear, but both challenge and contest clears. I thought that Bungie would skew much more on the side of keeping things very similar to Destiny 1, and the Destiny 1 version of Vault of Glass would have been easily demolished by Destiny 2's overwhelmingly more powerful sandbox. They did a very good job keeping the balance, in my opinion. They kept the core of the original raid alive while shifting things just enough to give it some new life. I also thought that the combat challenge was going to be very simple due to Deepstone Crypt's complete lack of it, combined with the fact that we haven't received any substantial nerfs since Deepstone Crypt launched that would really affect our killing potential. I was sort of wrong on that as well. So what are the differences? We're going to start with Atheon. No, we're not. We're going to start with Confluxes. What am I, lunatic? Confluxes as a whole did not change too significantly, and this is where I was hoping for some of the most amount of change. The main issue I had with Confluxes in Destiny 1 was that it was simply way too long, and this is a significant factor in my reasoning as to why I don't think VOG is the best raid or anything like that. If I took issue with Crown of Sorrow's first encounter and Garden of Salvation's second encounter taking too long and or being too boring, then Vault in Destiny 1 was one of the worst offenders. So what did actually change? Well, wyverns were added as a central threat to the encounter, and enemy density was brought up a slight amount. We'll talk more about that during the Oracle encounter. Otherwise, this fight was made a bit shorter, which I'm a huge fan of, and the negation pool was made a little less accessible. You need to jump in as a team, and you only have a couple of seconds after the pool has been triggered in order to cleanse, instead of just being able to jump in individually whenever you want, which I thought was a nice way to kind of tighten up that entire mechanic and make it a bit more threatening. You now actually need to communicate with who else was debuffed and link up together instead of just kind of doing whatever you want. Moving to Oracles, I mentioned enemy density, which was the phrase of Season 13. Vault of Glass and Destiny 1 had good enough enemy density for its time, but for Destiny 2 standards would have been not even remotely close to what we need. As a result, Bungie dramatically jacked up the enemy density during Oracles, and not only that, now they spawn enemies at the same time that Oracles spawn in, making you have to deal with both at the same time, and they included majors in these waves as well. Hobgoblins were also ramped up, spawning 2 at a time on certain platforms. This made combat much more intense than something like Deepstone Crypt. More enemies, having majors splashed in with more threatening weapons, to the point where you actually have to make choices. Do we kill enemies, or do we kill oracles? I liked actually having to make decisions and using supers to survive, actually getting to use stasis in PvE and not having it feel like a complete waste, unlike every other PvE activity in the game. Even on normal mode, if you're not on top of things, you can get overwhelmed via death by 1,000 cuts, in contrast to GM content, which is all about instant one-shot death. The main change, though, was how oracles spawned in. In Destiny 1, they simply appeared in a set pattern, sitting idle until shot, or they exploded on their own. They pinged in the exact same way with the same sounds and everything, but you could shoot them in any order you wanted to, although you should really have prioritized the first spawning oracles, but that's neither here nor there. They also had a lot more health in Destiny 1. In Destiny 2, the order matters now, meaning everyone needs to be on the lookout for oracles as they spawn in, or they need to have a good ear to memorize that order. Destiny 1's version was very lax, although appropriate for its era considering it was the first raid ever, and we've come a long way since then. Expectations are much higher nowadays, but when the entire mechanic in this encounter revolved around killing a non-moving, non-threatening target, well, there's only so many ways to really change it up without actually changing it up. The original Destiny 1 version was a grueling 7 waves of oracles, 3, 3, 5, 5, 7, 7, and then 9, with a lot of downtime in between. The Age of Triumph variant cut down the waves, but there was still plenty of downtime. In Destiny 2, downtime is kept to a minimum, giving you just enough time to make sure enemies have been cleared before the next wave starts to move in. The encounter also feels a little bit faster than both versions in Destiny 1. Before we move to Templar, though, I would like to say that Templar, during those 2 encounters in Destiny 2, is a little wuss baby compared to Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, one wrong step, and Templar would annihilate you without a care. In Destiny 2, Templar does not even come close to being a threat whatsoever, although that may be a product of the sandbox as well as him hitting like a wet noodle. We have anti-damage mods and tons of movement abilities, class abilities, which enable us to either just eat more damage from Templar or get out of the way much easier. My only counter to him being weaker is that because there is a bit more going on during actual encounters, Bungie maybe did not want to give Templar the absolute nuke status that it had in Destiny 1 as a result. Destiny 1 didn't have a lot going on in each fight, so Templar could have been perceived as one of the main threats. So let's move to the actual Templar encounter now, a fight that probably saw the least amount of change and may have been made even easier than its Destiny 1 counterpart, save for one thing. Templar remained roughly the same as the Destiny 1 version. The only changes are that Templar's teleport location is now actually random, oracles never stop spawning during the encounter, and Templar will randomly detain people during the fight. In Destiny 1, as long as Templar's teleport was being blocked, it would never activate a wave of oracles. In Destiny 2, oracles keep coming no matter what, which can interrupt damage phases and can wipe you if you're caught slacking or just not dealing enough damage to kill Templar before the oracles would happen to kill you. As for detainment, it used to happen every time you broke Templar's shield with the relic, and it would happen to 3 people, but those detained players could shoot out their own detainment. In Destiny 2, only 1 person is detained, but they cannot shoot it themselves. They would also not fall out of their own detainment. In Destiny 1, if you were in the air as detainment bubbles came out, you would fall through your own detainment bubble, and that would kill you. But detainments were predictable in terms of when they came out, so that was kind of okay. In Destiny 2, they're not as predictable, so being able to fall through your own detainment would just kind of be more frustrating than entertaining. The teleport change is both good and bad. It's good because a random location means that you can't just go back and forth anymore, and you kind of need to be on your toes a little bit. In Destiny 1, the first teleport block locations would be either front left or front right, and then they would alternate between those two until a teleport happened. This is likely because in Destiny 1, blocking teleports was incredibly dangerous, as Templar would turn towards the teleport location being blocked and ramp up its fire rate by, let's call it 1,000%, killing anything that it shot nearly instantly, making the job of the relic much more important. In Destiny 2, sorry, that was a really long sentence. In Destiny 2, however, the only job of the relic now is to shoot Templar's shield off. The relic holder will still probably be blocking teleports. It's just that there's not really that much of a threat to blocking them anymore, especially if they're out of line of sight of Templar. Let's be honest, blocking teleports is hardly a difficult thing in Destiny 2. Anyone can do it. Even the relic's timer for how long you can leave it on the ground is much looser than Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, I knew I had 1, maybe 2 rockets that I could shoot at Templar before I had to pick up the relic again. And sometimes I didn't even want to risk that because getting into teleport blocking position safely and quickly was already kind of tough. Now, you can drop the relic and you have a full 10 seconds to do whatever you want. Good or bad change, I think that one's a little subjective. But overall, the relic roll feels much less impactful than it did in Destiny 1. I wasn't expecting this fight to change that much, but it does feel even easier, significantly, than it was in Destiny 1, and I would not mind seeing Templar have a bit more health, although its health might have been balanced around contest mode, I don't know. Either way, Templar is a meme. Moving to the Gatekeeper fight, this was also a relatively boring Destiny 1 fight, but it was forgivable because it was so quick. In Destiny 1, all you had to do was go into each portal, kill a Hydra, grab the relic shield that it dropped, and then leave. And you would kill a couple of garbage mobs that spawned out of the portals, and boom, you're done. Quick fight, maybe a couple of minutes, if that. In Destiny 2, the core of the fight remains, which is entering and exiting... Can I talk? Which is entering and exiting the portal. Oh my god. In Destiny 2, the core of the fight remains, which is entering and exiting portals. But that's really all that stayed. Bungie took some pretty heavy inspiration from Garden, which you could argue took a little bit of inspiration from the original Vault, and turned this into another Conflux fight, but now you have to remove a shield from a Minotaur with the relic. But they also stop people from freely going into the portals with the relic, so you gotta play this hot potato game with it. And I gotta say, I really enjoy it. I also enjoy the combat experience inside the portals. You got 5 goblins spawning in, 2 of them are majors, they're coming every few seconds. That means you can really show off your combat prowess or your build in a meaningful way, or at the very least just get to feel like you're slaying the hell out. The outside teams are still not the most interesting though. At least you have like a overload Minotaur to kill, I guess. Not every job's going to be very exciting, but this gets people much more involved in the fight. It doesn't drag on for too long though, or at least it feels like it doesn't, because the combat in the portals is engaging enough to the point where I don't feel super bored. The Atheon encounter needed a little bit of spicing up, although I would argue that it was the best of the Destiny 1 encounters in Vault of Glass. In Destiny 1, the 3 outside players had 3 supplicants to kill per wave, and there were 4 waves total, and otherwise just stood around and did almost nothing besides opening up the portal. The teleported team still had to kill oracles, but they spawned in a very specific order every single time and just needed to be killed. And then you would leave, Time's Vengeance happens, yada yada, mostly the same as Destiny 2. Now, we're taking pages out of Riven's book, where one team has to give callouts to the other team. In this case, Throne Room giving reversed Oracle callouts to the Portal team. Not only that, but the Throne team has to deal with considerably more supplicants than before, and harpies on the ground, and major harpies on the ground, and harpies in the air. The Portal team now has to do 3 waves of oracles instead of just the static spawns. In Destiny 1, the players who did not get teleported were detained. In Destiny 2, the detainment from that is gone, but has been made into its own mechanic during the damage phase for a nice get out of the pool type mechanic that's insignificant when done correctly, but will wipe your team if not. Nice way to give the Throne team something to do. This was easily the biggest thing missing from Destiny 1, and made the fight kind of boring if you did not get teleported. Even the teleported team could be a bit of a snooze fest knowing where all the locations of the oracles were at all times. The relic holder could also just do all of the work, being able to bash every single oracle, although certain oracles were easier than others. I really like the detainment mechanic too. It makes it so everyone needs to be paying attention and can't just brainlessly be spamming anarchy shots. It makes ignoring harpies and supplicants actually somewhat threatening as well, since they can kill you outside of the well and the relic shield. The relic, again though, it just feels less impactful because of Well of Radiance. It cleanses, and that's about it. Just a remnant of its time, I suppose. Again, overall, Bungie did a very, very good job breathing new life into Vault of Glass. I think they hit their objectives very, very well, and Vault will no longer be something I dread running because of the painfully long first half of the raid, and I actually look forward to running it week over week. As for my thoughts on the contest/challenge mode, day 1 experience, I think Bungie saw those notes from Deepstone Crypt with regards to combat challenge and really took that into account when redesigning the raid. After all, it's kind of all they had. Sure, the fights changed a little bit, but this race was never going to be about mechanics. It was going to be about combat. The mechanics, or the core mechanics anyway, were already known, and to have a weak combat experience would have made this place a cakewalk. There were more clears of the contest mode than Deepstone Crypt, 6,800 to 5,300, although only half as many challenge clears at 2,800. Of all the D2 raids, the contest challenge mode had the fourth highest total 24-hour clears, with Eater of Worlds having 4,500, Deepstone with 5,300, and VOG Contest at 6,800. This doesn't account for multiple runs by the same team, though I don't know how many unique accounts cleared VOG. The barrier to entry was almost nothing, only requiring 1,300 power, so no Omega grinding to do unless you haven't played for a year, and it was on a weekend. I don't know what else you could really ask for. I thought the difficulty was appropriate for a contest and challenge mode, and honestly, I don't really have much else to say on it. I know a lot of people like to complain on day one where the difficulty is ramped up super high. I saw a lot of it on my Twitter feed, but that's kind of the point, for it to be super hard on day one and then it's really easy from that point on. I feel like people forget that, like they forget contest mode's a thing. Contest and challenge mode demand perfection, high skill, good execution, and I'm glad they do. I'm always going to encourage people to at least try the day one raid experience. It's one of the best experiences in the game. But if you're gonna have an attitude about Bungie giving people this experience for a day and not even try it yourself and just complain and whine, maybe just, I don't know, stop. One thing I will say though, is that it would have been nice to have both a 24-hour emblem for contest and a 24-hour emblem for challenge mode. There was only a challenge mode emblem. The other emblem was just for clearing the raid at any point. Knowing that day one raid races are tough, a little halfway emblem would have been nice for those people to commemorate their achievement. Before we go, let's quickly review the challenges. The Conflux challenge was to only kill wyverns as they were sacrificing. I thought this challenge was okay, nothing too crazy, but there's not a whole lot I feel like you can really do with this encounter to begin with in terms of challenges. The Oracle challenge was great. You cannot destroy the same Oracle more than once. Great challenge, making people rotate around, knowing the callouts, good stuff. Templar no teleport was the expected challenge, and in my opinion is even easier to do in Destiny 2 than Destiny 1. The Gatekeeper challenge, where you need to kill the Wyvern and the Minotaur at the same time, isn't too shabby, keeps people on their toes, you gotta move quickly back and forth, but again, not a whole lot you could really do here. The Atheon challenge was the weakest, in my opinion, where everyone on the teleported team can only shoot one Oracle per wave. I feel like this could have been made much more challenging. I don't really think having the Relic player drop the Relic for 3 seconds is that much of a challenge. Destiny 1's challenge was much harder to do, where everyone in the team had to shoot one Oracle per wave, although there were 6 Oracles total instead of 9, so it worked out a bit smoother. Yeah, either way, Atheon challenge was a bit weak, in my opinion. Not much else to say. Good job, Bungie. You did good. Maybe I'll make a video about what I'd like to see changed in the other raids, if they ever come to Destiny 2. Maybe I'll make something like that in the near future if I can think of anything. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.